Why would humans leave the only world they knew? The answer is not that humans simply got curious and walked away. The evidence points to climate windows, coastlines, food, pressure, and small groups following livable routes out of Africa again and again. Africa was not a prison, it was home. For hundreds of thousands of years, Homo sapiens and their close relatives lived across African landscapes that change constantly. Wet, dry, green, empty, connected, cut off. The first thing to forget is the cartoon version. One tribe leaving one place on one heroic journey. The real story looks messier. Some groups left early and vanished, others left later and became the ancestors of people across the world. One of the clearest early clues comes from Misliya Cave in Israel. A fossil upper jaw from that cave was dated to roughly 177,000 to 194,000 years ago, pushing modern humans outside Africa much earlier than older textbook timelines. That does not mean those early people conquered the planet. It means the door out of Africa opened before, and maybe many times. Some exits may have been experiments that did not last. Another clue comes from Arabia. At Wusta in Saudi Arabia, researchers described a Homo sapiens finger bone about 85,000 years old, found in what was once a freshwater lake landscape. That detail matters. Freshwater lake. Arabia was not always the hyper-dry barrier most people imagine. During wetter periods, grasslands, rivers, lakes and animals could turn harsh corridors into routes. So why leave? Because the map itself kept breathing. When rain moved north, routes opened. When deserts expanded, routes closed. Human migration was not just courage, it was timing. Food also pulled people forward. Coasts offered shellfish, fish, birds, seaweed, and predictable places to return. Rivers and lakes offered water, animals, plants, and stone. People did not need to know they were migrating. They only needed to follow survival. This is the human part. Leaving Africa may not have felt like leaving Africa. It may have felt like moving to the next valley, the next water source, the next shoreline, the next safer season. The deepest home was still Africa. Fossils from Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, dated to around 315,000 years ago, show that early Homo sapiens were already part of a wide African story, not one tiny birthplace on a map. That matters because the question is not only why humans left Africa, it is why a species shaped across Africa eventually became able to live almost anywhere. Forests, deserts, mountains, islands, tundra, and cities. Tools helped. Fire helped. Language helped. But the most powerful tool may have been social memory, where water returned, where animals moved, which plants were safe, which paths grandparents remembered. Genetics adds another layer. Most living non-African ancestry traces mainly to a later expansion, often discussed around 60 to 70,000 years ago, even though fossils show earlier people outside Africa too. That is why the story feels confusing. Archaeology can show footsteps that ended. Genetics can show lineages that survived. Both are true. Human history is full of paths that mattered even if they did not become us. By about 65,000 years ago, evidence from Madjedbebe in northern Australia shows humans living far beyond Africa, beyond the Levant, beyond Arabia, across sea barriers into Sahel. That means the leaving was not only walking. At some point, humans crossed water to reach lands they could not fully see from shore. The old species that followed rivers had become a species that could imagine a horizon. So the real answer is layered. Humans left because climate opened doors, food pulled them along, groups split and rejoined, memory preserved roots, and restlessness became useful when the world kept changing. But there is one more uncomfortable truth. Leaving also meant meeting other humans, Neanderthals, Denisovans, and older populations whose worlds were already there. Migration was not empty land. It was contact. Before us were people who did not know they were beginning world history. They were solving immediate problems: water, children, hunger, danger, and tomorrow. The road out of Africa was not one escape. It was survival, repeated until it became the world.